A colossal stone wall stands silent, its builders unknown, and its construction a mystery. These forgotten megastructures witnessed the dawn of urban life, shaping our world long before the Great Pyramids rose. Why have these foundational marvels vanished from our history, and what secrets do they hold about our earliest ambitions? In this video, we unearth 20 forgotten megastructures that completely redefined what a city could be, revealing how they centralized power, mastered the environment, and forged the first complex societies. You will discover the true origins of urban civilization and see our past in an entirely new light. We will explore a city whose immense scale baffled scholars for centuries and a royal tomb filled with both splendor and profound questions. What does the legacy of these ancient builders tell you about our own modern world? Two colossal stone lions stare down from a massive lintel, their silent gaze guarding a city of legends. This is the Lion Gate of Mycenae, the entrance to a fortress protected by walls of such impossible scale, they were credited to the mythical Cyclopes. Built around 1250 BCE, these are the Cyclopean walls, constructed from gigantic, irregular blocks of limestone, some weighing many tons. They were fitted together with astonishing precision, all without a drop of mortar. The archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann, upon his discovery, was struck by their gigantic, primitive, and heroic character. But these walls were far more than just a barrier. They were a declaration of power, a statement of technological mastery that would have left any approaching visitor in awe. The unprecedented security they offered transformed Mycenae into a thriving hub of power and culture, a place where people could live and trade under a blanket of perceived invincibility. It demonstrates how the very idea of safety, made solid in stone, could be used to centralize control and attract a population. Yet this monumental achievement also poses a profound question. What does it mean when a society's most enduring symbol is a structure designed for exclusion, a barrier meant to keep the world at bay? This very drive for security and centralized power would soon inspire builders to think even bigger, moving from protecting a single citadel to mastering an entire city's landscape. While the walls of Mycenae were built for earthly power, another civilization was reaching for the stars. In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, a colossal stairway ascended toward the heavens. The Great Ziggurat of Ur was not merely a building, it was a sacred mountain constructed by human hands, commissioned by King Ur-Nammu in the 21st century BCE. This massive, stepped pyramid of mud brick, shimmering with an outer layer of baked brick, served as the spiritual and administrative center of the Sumerian city-state. Ancient cuneiform texts tell us it was dedicated to Nana, the moon god, a place where priests could ascend to commune with the divine. This was a structure designed to bridge the gap between humanity and the gods, a physical anchor for an entire community's faith. Its construction was a feat of social engineering as much as architecture. Building such a monument required advanced knowledge of geometry to maintain its precise shape and immense logistical skill to organize thousands of laborers. They created a solid core with a complex internal drainage system to protect against rare but devastating rains, and grand external staircases that guided ritual processions skyward. By centralizing all religious practice at this single, awe-inspiring site, the king reinforced his divine connection and unified the population under a shared spiritual identity. The ziggurat's prominence transformed Ur into a major pilgrimage destination, fueling its economy with visitors and solidifying its cultural influence across the region. This monumental effort prompts a deeper question. How did one structure come to coordinate an entire society's labor, economy, and belief system? The ziggurat was the glue that held the city-state together, proving that the most powerful megastructures are those that capture not just territory, but the human spirit. This model of centralized power, whether spiritual or earthly, would be replicated in countless forms. Soon, another civilization would master this principle on an even grander scale, not with temples reaching for the sky, but with a tomb descending into the earth. Sun-baked and silent, a forest of steep pyramids rises from the sands of Sudan. This is the necropolis of Meroe, a breathtaking city of the dead built by the kingdom of Kush. For over 1,000 years, from around 720 BCE to 300 CE, the kings and queens of this powerful African civilization were laid to rest here in tombs that rival the fame of their Egyptian neighbors, yet tell a story all their own. Their design is immediately distinct, with dramatically sharper angles and narrower bases than the iconic pyramids at Giza. These were not slavish copies, but a bold declaration of a unique cultural identity, blending Egyptian architectural forms with indigenous Nubian artistry. The exteriors were once adorned with intricate relief carvings, depicting scenes of royal power, deities, and rituals, all carved from solid sandstone blocks fitted over a core of rubble and sand. This construction method was both ingenious and efficient, a testament to the builders' deep understanding of their environment and materials, but the sophistication did not end there. The entire site was a celestial map, with pyramids precisely aligned to the movements of the sun and stars, turning a royal cemetery into a permanent connection between the earthly realm and the cosmos. This concentration of monumental effort in a single funerary landscape was a profound statement. It projected the unshakable power and wealth of the Kushite state, a dynasty so confident in its rule that it could marshal generations of labor to celebrate its legacy for eternity. Why would a civilization invest so heavily in a city for the departed? The answer lies in the belief that a ruler's power did not end with their passing, but continued into the afterlife, forever safeguarding the kingdom. This immense project required a highly organized society capable of planning, quarrying, transporting, and constructing dozens of these monuments, proving that the greatest megastructures are often the ultimate expression of a culture's deepest beliefs about power, legacy, and the divine. While the Pyramids of Meroe immortalized royal individuals, our next discovery reveals a structure built for an entirely different purpose, one that sustained the very heartbeat of an entire city for its living, breathing population. A massive stone channel, an artificial river carved directly into the earth, forever changed the relationship between a city and its environment. This is the Aqueduct of Jerwan, a hydrological masterpiece commissioned by the Assyrian king Sennacherib around 690 BCE to quench the thirst of his new capital, Nineveh. Inscriptions left by the king himself boast of cutting through high mountains and spanning riverbeds, a testament to the sheer ambition of this project. It stands as one of the oldest known aqueducts in the world, a precursor to the famed Roman systems that would follow centuries later. Its construction was an act of sheer defiance against the natural landscape, built with over 2 million precisely cut stone blocks and sealed with a revolutionary waterproof cement made from lime. This was not merely a ditch, it was a permanent, engineered solution to a fundamental human need. By mastering the flow of water across dozens of miles, Sennacherib did more than just hydrate a city, he unleashed its potential. A reliable, year-round water source allowed Nineveh to support a population well over 100,000 people, transforming it into one of the largest and most powerful urban centers of the ancient world. This steady supply fueled not just drinking water, but also irrigation for vast surrounding fields, creating agricultural surpluses that could feed a massive army and a thriving artisan class. The aqueduct was the ultimate tool of imperial control, a physical manifestation of the king's power to command nature itself for the benefit of his capital. It prompts a powerful question: how does controlling a basic, life-giving resource become the ultimate expression of authority? The answer lies in the transformation of survival into spectacle, proving that the most profound power is not just to conquer people, but to reshape the very elements that sustain them. This Assyrian mastery over water and landscape set a new standard, but it was a challenge another civilization would soon answer, not by channeling a river, but by constructing a fortress of unparalleled scale. Deep beneath the sunlit island of Malta lies a world turned inside out. The Hal Saflieni Hypogeum is not a structure built upward, but an immense labyrinth carved downward, a three-level sanctuary meticulously hollowed from solid limestone using nothing more than stone and antler tools. Created over generations beginning around 4000 BCE, this was a place of profound duality, serving simultaneously as a sacred temple for the living and a final resting place for the remains of thousands. Its creators replicated the forms of the massive above-ground stone temples found across Malta, but inverted them, creating a sacred mirror world beneath the earth. Walking through its honeycomb of chambers, you would have encountered walls once painted with vivid red ochre spirals, symbols whose meanings are now lost to time. Yet the most haunting feature is not something you see, but something you hear. Specific chambers within the hypogeum possess extraordinary acoustic properties. A voice spoken in one of these small, carved niches is amplified and transformed, its resonance filling the space with an otherworldly echo. Researchers suggest this was no accident, but an intentional design feature, likely used to amplify ritual chanting or to create a voice for an oracle, making the very stones themselves seem to speak. This blending of architecture and acoustics points to a sophisticated spiritual understanding. The immense effort required to create this underground complex, a project spanning centuries, signifies a society with remarkable long-term vision and a powerful, shared belief system. It acted as a centralizing force, drawing scattered communities from across the island to a common ceremonial heart. Why would a civilization choose to invest its greatest collective effort not in a monument to the sky, but in a sanctuary buried within the earth? This inward journey suggests a focus on the mysteries of the spirit world, the earth itself, and the cycle of life. It represents a different kind of ambition, one that sought to harness the power of the unseen. From this profound descent into the underground, the human impulse to build would soon swing dramatically in the opposite direction, reaching for the heavens with a new and imposing scale. Rising from the high plateau of southern Africa, a city of stone defied every expectation. The Great Enclosure of Great Zimbabwe stands as the largest ancient structure south of the Sahara, a sprawling complex of curving granite walls and mysterious towers built entirely without mortar. Between the 11th and 15th centuries CE, the Shona people crafted this masterpiece, the royal heart of a kingdom whose wealth and influence stretched across the Indian Ocean. Its walls, some over 11 meters high and 5 meters thick, were constructed using a technique known as dry stone walling. Each granite block was carefully selected, heated in fires to make it easier to shape, and then painstakingly fitted to its neighbor, creating seams so tight that not even a blade of grass could pass between. This was not a defensive fortress, but a statement of prestige and power, a palace and ceremonial center designed to inspire awe. At its core stands the most enigmatic feature, the conical tower. This solid stone structure, mirroring the shape of a granary, never held any grain. its purpose remains one of history's quiet puzzles, a potent symbol perhaps of fertility, royal authority, or a connection to the spiritual world that governed the rains and harvests. The entire enclosure was a physical map of social order, with its labyrinthine passages and high walls creating a clear separation between the royal elite and the wider population. This architectural marvel was the capital of a trading empire that controlled the flow of gold and ivory from the African interior to ports thousands of miles away. How did a city so far from the coast become such a pivotal hub of global commerce? The answer lies in the sophisticated networks it commanded, channeling vast riches and drawing in goods from as far as China and Persia, proving that the greatest megastructures are often built not just with stone, but with the power of connection. This story of a civilization carving its legacy from the very bedrock finds a stunning parallel in our next discovery, where an entire city was not built from stone, but carved directly into the face of a cliff. A city of faith lies entirely below your feet. The 11 rock-hewn churches of Lalibela in Ethiopia were not constructed, but revealed, painstakingly carved downward into a single slab of volcanic rock during the 12th and 13th centuries. This was an architectural vision in reverse, a sacred landscape excavated from the living earth. The project was so monumental that contemporary accounts speak of angels coming to work alongside the masons under the cover of darkness, a legend that perfectly captures the sheer wonder this complex inspired. The process was incredibly perilous. Artisans had to work from the top down, first carving out a massive trench to isolate a single block of stone, then meticulously hollowing out the interior to form naves, columns, and sanctuaries, all while chiseling intricate windows and drainage systems from above. One misjudgment of the rock's integrity could have shattered an entire church. This was not mere excavation, it was a form of sculptural prophecy, requiring the builders to see the finished church hidden within the mountain and carefully remove everything that was not part of its divine form. The entire complex was designed as a symbolic New Jerusalem, a pilgrimage destination that allowed the Ethiopian kingdom to consolidate its Christian identity and religious authority far from the influence of other powers. A network of deep trenches and narrow, tunnel-like passages connects the churches, forcing pilgrims to move through a metaphorical spiritual journey, descending into darkness before emerging into the light of a sunlit courtyard. Why would a civilization commit generations of labor to such a dangerous and inward-looking endeavor? The answer lies in the power of a shared spiritual goal to unify a people and carve a permanent, indestructible home for their faith directly into the bedrock of their land. This profound act of devotion, focused on creating a permanent spiritual center, represents one end of the human spectrum of building. Yet another civilization would soon channel a similar intensity of focus outward, not into the earth, but toward the cosmos, constructing a megastructure to read the movements of the heavens themselves. A single round tower stands apart from the angular stone platforms of the ancient city. The Caracol of Chichen Itza, built around 906 CE, is a stunning anomaly, an observatory where Mayan astronomers decoded the rhythms of the cosmos. Its name, meaning snail, comes from the spiral staircase that once wound through its core, a path leading priests and scholars toward the heavens. This was not merely a building, but a precision instrument carved in stone. Its design is a masterclass in celestial alignment, with narrow slots and windows carefully positioned to frame the extreme rising and setting points of Venus. For the Maya, the cycles of this brilliant planet were deeply woven into their calendar and their understanding of time itself, dictating the timing of both warfare and sacred ceremonies. The structure itself reveals a fascinating blend of innovation and influence, its unique circular form sitting upon a broad rectangular platform, While its core is rough rubble, its face is a mosaic of exquisitely cut stone, a testament to the skill of its builders. This round shape is rare in Mayan architecture, hinting at possible cultural exchanges across Mesoamerica. The power held within this tower was immense. By predicting the movements of Venus with uncanny accuracy, the priestly elite could claim a direct connection to the divine, framing their rule as a natural extension of the cosmic order. This knowledge was profoundly practical, guiding the agricultural cycle and legitimizing their authority over every aspect of city life. How does understanding the sky translate into power on the ground? The answer is written in the very stones of the Caracol, proving that the ultimate control is not just over land and people, but over time and destiny themselves. This sophisticated grasp of astronomy allowed a civilization to build its society in harmony with the universe, a harmony that would soon be tested by a very different kind of challenge, one demanding not observation but impenetrable defense. While the Maya were charting the stars, another civilization was fortifying its very soul against the shifting sands of time. In the heart of ancient Sudan, the city of Kerma was defended by a structure of staggering mass, the Western Deffufa. This was not a pyramid of stone, but a fortress temple built from millions of sun-dried mud bricks, a monument that rose over 18 meters high and dominated the flat Nile landscape for nearly a millennium. To stand before it was to witness the raw ambition of one of Africa's first great kingdoms. The very bricks still bear the fingerprints of the individuals who pressed them into form over 4,500 years ago, a silent, personal signature from a distant past. The Deffufa was the spiritual and administrative core of the city, a place where priests likely ascended to its rooftop to conduct ceremonies visible for miles. But this towering landmark was just the centerpiece of a much larger defensive scheme. Kerma was encircled by massive walls and a complex network of deep, protective ditches, creating a formidable barrier against any rival who coveted its immense wealth. These were not just walls, they were a statement. They projected an image of unshakable stability and power, assuring the city's inhabitants and intimidating any potential adversaries. This unprecedented security allowed Kerma to flourish as a vital trade hub, channeling gold, ivory, and exotic goods from the African interior northward to Egypt. For nearly 1,000 years, the city amassed cultural influence and riches, its longevity a direct testament to the stability its colossal defenses provided. How does a society maintain its identity and prosperity for so long? The answer lies partly in these walls, which created a safe harbor for commerce and culture to intertwine, proving that the confidence to trade and grow often begins with the assurance of being protected. This universal drive for security, born in the sun-baked plains of Africa, would find a dramatic and unexpected echo thousands of miles away, where an entire civilization chose to build its stronghold not on open ground, but within the impossible embrace of a mountain. High on a sun-baked canyon wall, an entire city hangs suspended between earth and sky. The cliff palace of Mesa Verde is a breathtaking feat of architectural integration, where over 150 rooms and 23 sacred kivas were woven directly into the natural sandstone alcoves by the ancestral pueblones. This was not a fortress imposed upon the landscape, but a community that grew from it, a stunning adaptation to the high desert environment built between 1190 and 1260 CE. Every detail of its placement was a calculated response to survival. The south-facing alcoves acted as natural solar collectors, capturing precious warmth from the low winter sun, while the deep rock overhangs provided shade during the scorching summers. Proximity to natural seeps and springs meant that even in this arid climate, the community had access to vital water. the construction itself was a monumental communal effort. Builders shaped soft sandstone blocks using harder stones, bound them with mud mortar, and somehow hoisted massive timbers for roofs and ceilings from the canyon floor hundreds of feet below. Living in such a compact, multi-storied village fostered incredible social cohesion. Shared plazas and the many kivas for ceremonial gatherings wove the community together through daily interaction and shared spiritual life. The location also offered a powerful defensive advantage, its inaccessibility deterring potential conflicts. This intricate relationship with the environment represents the peak of ancestral Puebloan society, a sophisticated solution that balanced community needs with the stark realities of their world. So why would a people commit to such a difficult and inaccessible home? The answer lies in a profound understanding of their place in the world, choosing security and social unity over convenience, and crafting a legacy not just of stone but of resilience. This deep connection between a city and its life-giving waters would soon be mirrored in a very different landscape, where another civilization built its grandeur not on cliffs but across a chain of islands. A city of stone floats upon the sea. Madol rises from a shallow coral reef off the coast of Pohnpei, a labyrinth of nearly 100 artificial islands constructed from colossal basalt logs. Established around 1200 CE, this was the ceremonial and political heart of the Sordalor dynasty, a place where the very definition of a city was rewritten. Its name means the spaces between, a perfect description for a capital defined not by solid ground, but by the shimmering canals that separate and connect its myriad islets. The engineering required to build here was almost beyond comprehension. Using no metal tools, workers quarried countless prismatic basalt columns, some weighing up to 50 tons, from a site across the island. The mystery of how they transported these megalithic stones, potentially by lashing them to rafts and navigating the treacherous coastline, remains one of the great puzzles of the Pacific. Each islet was then carefully built up from the seafloor, a monumental act of land reclamation that created a unique maritime urban complex. This was a city designed with profound social order in mind. The central compounds, with their high walls and imposing architecture, were reserved for the nobility and the performance of sacred rituals. Outer islands housed the practical activities that sustained the elite, from food preparation to canoe building. This physical separation enforced a strict social hierarchy, centralizing all political and spiritual authority within the canal network. By controlling both the sacred rites and the flow of resources from the surrounding islands, the Sordalor rulers wielded power that was as deep as the ocean surrounding their capital. How did a society with such seemingly simple technology coordinate a project of this staggering scale? The answer lies not in individual might, but in the power of a unified communal vision, a collective will to create a center of power that was literally set apart from the everyday world. This magnificent waterborne capital, a testament to humanity's ability to conquer the sea, stands in stark contrast to our next discovery, a city born not from the ocean's embrace, but from the relentless aridity of the desert. While the floating city of Madol mastered the sea, another civilization was performing a miracle of a different kind, conjuring life from the heart of a desert. The true wonder of Persepolis was not its gleaming palaces, but what lay hidden deep beneath them. An immense, invisible web of tunnels known as the Qanat system transformed barren plains into a fertile heartland, sustaining the ceremonial capital of the Achaemenid Empire. Built on the orders of King Darius I around 518 BCE, this was hydrological engineering on an epic scale. Skilled surveyors first located a water source in the distant foothills, then teams of laborers began the perilous work of digging a gently sloping underground channel, mile after mile, toward the city. A series of vertical shafts were dug along the route, providing air for the diggers, a means to remove excavated earth and crucial access points for maintenance. The Greek historian Polybius would later marvel at this Persian technology, noting how it delivered a steady, clean flow of water safe from the evaporating heat of the sun. This was not a mere aqueduct, it was a man-made underground river. The constant, reliable supply was the lifeblood of the empire. It fed lush royal gardens, filled the baths and fountains of the grand palaces, and quenched the thirst of a vast urban population of soldiers, artisans, and administrators who did not need to farm to eat. By mastering this most fundamental resource, the king secured his power, enabling the centralization of imperial governance on a previously unimaginable scale. The sheer logistical feat of constructing and maintaining these tunnels required a highly organized society with specialized knowledge passed down through generations. This hidden network prompts a profound question. Can a city's true greatness be measured by its invisible infrastructure, by the genius that flows unseen beneath our feet? The answer at Persepolis is a resounding yes, for its visible splendor was entirely dependent on the water wisdom carved into the earth. This brilliant manipulation of a hostile environment demonstrates that the grandest megastructures are not always the ones that reach for the sky, but sometimes those that quietly, persistently harness the earth itself. This legacy of reshaping nature to serve urban life would soon be expressed in a new form, not through hidden water channels, but through a monumental public space designed to unite an entire empire. Monk's Mound rises from the Illinois floodplain, a colossal earthen pyramid built not of stone, but of soil and sheer human will. At its peak around 1100 CE, this was the heart of Cahokia, a city whose population rivaled London's at the time. The mound itself is a staggering achievement, a structure covering 14 acres and towering 100 feet high. To create it, generations of people moved an estimated 22 million cubic feet of earth, carrying soil in woven baskets to build this monumental platform layer by patient layer. At its summit stood a large building, likely the residence of the city's paramount chief, placing him physically and symbolically above the entire community. The entire city was a masterpiece of urban planning, a vast central plaza stretched before the Great Mound, flanked by over 100 smaller mounds arranged in precise, complex patterns. This layout was not random. Its axes were carefully aligned with solar events like the equinoxes, proving the builders possessed sophisticated astronomical knowledge. This was a city designed to orchestrate society itself. The Grand Plaza would have been filled with thousands of people during ceremonial games and festivals, a spectacle of communal identity and shared belief. Cahokia thrived as a nexus of trade, with goods like copper from the Great Lakes and shells from the Gulf Coast flowing through its markets. How did a society without beasts of burden or the wheel coordinate such a monumental collective effort? The answer lies in a powerful, unifying vision, a shared cultural or spiritual goal that could inspire thousands to move mountains of earth for a common purpose. This profound ability to organize labor on a grand scale finds a powerful echo in our next discovery, where another civilization channeled its collective spirit into a different kind of monumental endeavor, creating a city not for the living, but for the eternal journey beyond. A deep shaft descends into the earth, opening into a stone vault glittering with gold. The royal cemetery at Ur reveals a world where death was a doorway to an opulent afterlife, a belief so powerful it shaped the very fabric of the earliest cities. Excavated by the archaeologist Leonard Woolley in the 1920s, this Sumerian necropolis from around 2600 BCE contained 16 spectacular royal tombs that stunned the world. The most haunting discovery was not the treasure but the people. In the Great Death Pit, over 70 individuals were found carefully arranged, not as victims of violence, but as a solemn retinue who appear to have taken a sacred substance to accompany their ruler on the final journey. This ceremonial practice speaks to an almost unimaginable power of religious conviction, a collective belief in a divine kingship that transcended mortal life. The tombs themselves were engineering marvels, built at the bottom of deep shafts and capped with stone vaults to create a permanent house for eternity. Inside, the wealth was staggering: exquisite headdresses of gold and lapis lazuli, intricate lyres decorated with golden bulls, and weapons inlaid with carnelian were placed alongside the royal individuals. These materials tell a story of far-reaching trade, with lapis lazuli sourced from distant Afghanistan and carnelian from the Indus Valley, proving that even 4,500 years ago, cities were connected by vast economic networks. This concentration of unimaginable wealth and the ultimate sacrifice of human companions underscores the extreme social hierarchy of early Sumerian society. The ruler was not just a political leader, but a divine figure, and their passing was an event that required the community's greatest treasures and most profound devotion to ensure continuity in the next world. How does the treatment of the departed define the society of the living? At Ur, the answer is clear. The grandeur of the tombs was a public spectacle of power and piety, reinforcing the city's status and securing the ruler's legacy by demonstrating a command over both material resources and the deepest beliefs of the people. This profound focus on honoring the elite in death created a permanent anchor for the city's identity. Yet this inward gaze toward the afterlife would soon be matched by an outward-looking vision, as another civilization channeled its collective energy into a structure not for the departed, but for the vibrant, living heart of the community. A perfect rectangle of water lies at the heart of a city older than time. The Great Bath of Mohenjo-Daro is not merely a pool, it is the world's first known public water tank, a monument to communal life built by the Indus Valley civilization around 2500 BCE. Its construction was an act of precision and foresight. The massive tank was lined with finely fitted bricks, then sealed with a thick, durable layer of bitumen, a natural tar that made the structure completely watertight. This was not a casual swimming hole, but a meticulously engineered sacred space, centered within a raised citadel that also housed granaries and large assembly halls. The entire complex was the city's spiritual and civic nucleus. A sophisticated drainage system with carefully laid channels and outlets allowed the bath to be periodically cleaned and emptied, a testament to an advanced understanding of urban hygiene and hydraulic engineering that rivaled any contemporary civilization. The bath's primary purpose was almost certainly ritual. The act of ceremonial bathing, of achieving purity through water, remains a cornerstone of spiritual practice across South Asia to this day, a tradition whose roots may stretch back to this very structure. Here, in the shadow of the granary that held the city's physical sustenance, the Great Bath provided for its spiritual nourishment. This implies a society bound by a powerful, shared belief system, one where community identity was forged not just by shared labor or trade, but by shared ritual. Why would one of the most prominent and carefully built structures in an entire city be dedicated to the simple, profound act of bathing? The answer lies in the power of a common experience to unify thousands, creating a sense of collective identity and purpose that was as essential to the city's survival as any wall or storehouse. This focus on communal purity and shared civic space represents one path to social cohesion. Our next discovery reveals a very different approach, where unity was forged not through shared ritual, but through the imposing, unbreakable strength of a fortress designed to withstand any siege. A city's walls were the very fabric of its empire. High on a rocky plateau in Anatolia, the Hittite capital of Hattusa was encircled by a staggering 6-kilometer-long defensive system. A stone and mud brick embrace expanded around 1400 BCE. These were not simple barriers, they were a layered masterpiece of military engineering. The walls themselves were built with a brilliant dual construction, a sturdy stone foundation supporting a towering superstructure of sun-dried mud brick. This combination provided immense strength against siege weapons while also offering crucial flexibility, allowing the walls to sway and absorb the shock of the frequent earthquakes that shook the region. The system's most imposing features were its gateways, monumental entry points like the Lion Gate and the Sphinx Gate. These were not just defensive choke points, but profound psychological weapons. To approach the Lion Gate was to walk beneath the gaze of two colossal stone lions, their powerful bodies projecting from the massive stone blocks, a silent, snarling promise of the empire's might. Similarly, the Sphinx Gate, guarded by mythical creatures with the bodies of lions and the heads of gods or kings, sent an unmistakable message to any visitor or potential adversary. You were not just entering a city, you were stepping into the dominion of a power protected by divine and earthly forces. This fusion of military function and religious symbolism was intentional propaganda, reinforcing the king's role as both commander-in-chief and chief priest. Building such an extensive network of walls required the Hittite state to mobilize thousands of laborers and control vast resources, from quarries for the stone to forests for the timber that reinforced the gates. This immense effort secured a city that housed the empire's most vital institutions, the royal archives filled with cuneiform tablets, the grand temples to the storm god, and the opulent palaces from which the king ruled. How does a capital's defensive strength become the key to holding an empire together? For the Hittites, the answer was absolute. The sheer invulnerability of Hattusa provided a stable, unshakable core, a secure administrative heart from which they could project power across a vast and often unruly territory. The confidence born behind those walls allowed for the management of distant provinces and the quelling of rebellions, proving that the perception of impregnability could be as powerful as the reality. This focus on military might and centralized control, however, stands in stark contrast to the foundations of our next discovery, a city built not on fortifications, but on the peaceful, far-reaching connections of commerce. A massive, brick-lined basin lies at the heart of a city built for commerce. This is the Dockyard of Lothal, a Harappan port in Gujarat whose very existence redefined the economic potential of an urban center around 2400 BCE. It stands as the world's earliest known dock, a brilliant feat of hydraulic engineering that turned the shifting tides to its advantage. The entire structure was designed with a profound understanding of the sea. A carefully engineered channel connected the main basin to the Sabarmati River, ensuring that ships could enter and berth safely regardless of the tidal cycle. This constant, reliable access was the city's lifeblood. Inside the secure dock, vessels were loaded with the exquisite goods that made Lothal famous, from beautifully crafted carnelian beads to precision-made tools of copper and bronze. These products flowed out to distant markets, reaching as far as the great cities of Mesopotamia, and in return, raw materials and foreign treasures flowed in. The city itself was a masterpiece of organization, laid out on a strict grid pattern that maximized efficiency. A raised acropolis housed the public buildings and granaries, overseeing a lower town packed with the workshops and homes of artisans and merchants. Every aspect of the city's design seemed to point back to the dock, the central engine of its economy. This single structure centralized not just goods, but the entire process of production and distribution, making Lothal an indispensable hub in a vast Bronze Age trade network. The wealth generated here funded other civic projects and supported a sophisticated urban lifestyle. It forces us to ask a fundamental question: can a city's identity and prosperity be anchored by a single, non-religious, non-defensive structure? At Lothal, the answer echoes from the brick-lined walls of its dock, a resounding yes. This maritime gateway, built for connection and commerce, represents a different path to power, one built on economic networks rather than walls or temples. Yet the need for physical security remained, a need that would soon be answered with breathtaking ambition in a city famed for its land-based fortifications. Two stone pathways stretched across the coastal plain, binding a city to the sea. The long walls of Athens were more than mere fortifications. They were a stroke of strategic genius that physically tethered the city to its lifeblood, the port of Piraeus. Constructed in the middle of the 5th century BCE, these parallel walls created a protected corridor nearly 6 kilometers long, wide enough for 2 carts to pass abreast. The historian Thucydides recorded their urgent construction, a project so vital that Athenians used rubble from their own demolished buildings to speed the work, learning a harsh lesson from the Persian Wars about the vulnerability of their supply lines. Built with a sturdy stone foundation and a superstructure of sun-dried mud brick, these walls were not designed to protect the city alone, but to guarantee its connection to the greatest navy in the Greek world. This architectural decision fundamentally reshaped Athenian power. No longer could a land-based siege starve Athens into submission. For as long as their ships controlled the sea, grain and goods could flow safely from the port to the city through this unbreakable stone artery. This security allowed Athens to invest fully in its maritime strength, becoming the undisputed leader of the Delian League and funneling the wealth of an empire directly into its coffers. The walls transformed Athens and Piraeus into a single, massive, defensible unit, a bold reimagining of urban space where a city's reach extended far beyond its traditional boundaries. How can a pair of walls empower a city to build an empire? The answer lies not in the walls themselves, but in the unshakable confidence they provided, a psychological and strategic assurance that freed Athens to look outward and dominate the Aegean. This profound sense of security, born from stone and mortar, stands in stark contrast to the enigma of our next site, a place where a vibrant city made a different choice and simply walked away from its walls forever. The corridors of Turin are a labyrinth of sheer, oppressive strength. This Mycenaean citadel, a contemporary and rival of Mycenae itself, rose to prominence around 1400 BCE, its foundations laid with limestone blocks so massive that later Greeks were convinced only the mythical Cyclopes could have lifted them. The walls are the city's defining feature, monstrously thick in some sections and towering over the surrounding plain. Within their girth lies one of the most brilliant feats of Bronze Age engineering, a long, corbelled gallery. This was a vaulted passage built directly into the fortress wall, its sides created by each successive course of stone jutting slightly inward until they met at the top, all without a single arch. This ingenious space was both a practical storage area, a casemate for provisions to withstand a siege, and a stunning demonstration of the builders' confidence. They were so certain of their walls' stability that they hollowed them out, turning pure defense into functional architecture. At the summit of this formidable base stood the royal palace, a world of vibrant frescoes depicting chariots and hunts. Its heart was the Megaron, the great hall with its central hearth and throne, where the political and ceremonial life of the kingdom pulsed. This was the command center from which a ruler controlled the rich farmlands of the Argolid plain and the lucrative trade routes that crossed it. The sheer, unassailable bulk of the citadel was a continuous, silent broadcast of power. It was designed to intimidate, to make the very idea of attack seem futile. But it makes you wonder, what was the psychological cost of such immense security? Did the constant presence of these Cyclopean walls, this ultimate symbol of exclusion, create a sense of invincibility for those inside, or did it foster a fortress mentality, a world view forever anticipating a threat? The legacy of Turins is one of raw, indomitable power carved in stone, a final, monumental testament to the Mycenaean drive to build on an impossible scale. This brings us to our 20th and final forgotten marvel, a place that represents not an end, but a mysterious new beginning in the story of humanity's earliest cities. A silent grid of streets lies perfectly preserved beneath the Mediterranean waves. Pavloptre, the world's oldest known submerged city, sank beneath the sea around 1000 BCE, a complete Bronze Age town frozen in time for over 5,000 years. Its discovery off the coast of southern Greece reveals a meticulously planned urban center dating back to at least 2800 BCE, a thriving port whose existence predates the classical glory of Athens by millennia. Here, the familiar layout of a modern town is eerily present, with a clear network of roads, central courtyards, distinct tombs, and even the foundations of two-story buildings. This was not a haphazard settlement, but a carefully organized community with designated residential, commercial, and ceremonial spaces, all designed to facilitate a life intimately connected to the sea. Its submergence, likely caused by gradual seismic activity that lowered the coastline, acted as a perfect time capsule. Unlike cities built over for centuries, Pavloptre's streets escaped later disturbances, offering archaeologists a pristine view of early urban life, a blueprint of a functioning maritime society. The city's economy was clearly anchored in trade, with finds of pottery and evidence of textile production pointing to a bustling port that connected mainland Greece with the wider Aegean world. This sophisticated level of organization challenges our assumptions, proving that the concepts of urban planning and maritime commerce were established far earlier and with greater complexity than previously believed. Pavloptre represents a profound duality, a city that successfully adapted to the sea for generations, only to be ultimately reclaimed by it. So what does this sunken metropolis teach us about the fragility of our earliest urban experiments? Its legacy is a powerful reminder that the foundations of civilization are not always found on solid ground, but are sometimes hidden just beneath the surface, waiting to reveal their secrets. The story of our cities is not just one of unbroken progress, but also of adaptation, resilience, and sometimes quiet surrender to the forces of nature. These 20 forgotten giants were all answering the same fundamental challenges of collective life. Whether they were walls, temples, or aqueducts, each megastructure was a profound response to a basic human need: the need for safety, the need for spiritual meaning, the need for water, and the need for social order. They were the physical engines that powered the very first complex societies, transforming scattered villages into the world's earliest cities. The construction of a single ziggurat or a network of qanats required more than just raw labor. It demanded a revolution in human organization. For the first time, thousands of people had to be coordinated, fed, and motivated toward a single, long-term goal. This collective effort gave rise to specialized roles: the architect, the engineer, the project manager, and in doing so, it cemented new social hierarchies and centralized authority. The king or priest who could command such a project demonstrated a power that was both undeniable and divine. The technologies born from these endeavors became the foundational toolkit of civilization itself. The precise stone fitting of the Mycenaeans, the hydrological genius of the Assyrian aqueduct, the celestial mathematics of the Maya, these were not lost arts. They were the prototypes, the brilliant first drafts of engineering principles that will be copied, adapted, and refined for thousands of years, eventually echoing in the roads, bridges, and skyscrapers of our modern world. By making cities safer, more sacred, and more economically powerful, these structures did not just occupy space, they created a new kind of human landscape. They redefined what a city could be, a place of concentrated innovation, a hub of culture, and a testament to what we can achieve together. So when you walk through a modern city, with its water flowing from hidden pipes and its skyline punctuated by towers, you are witnessing the direct legacy of these ancient experiments. The very concept of a city as a place of shared purpose and collective achievement was forged in the shadow of these forgotten megastructures. From the sunken streets of Pavloptri to the soaring ziggurats of Ur, these 20 forgotten megastructures reveal a profound truth. Our earliest cities were not just collections of people, but audacious projects of collective imagination and will. They redefined humanity's potential, proving that we could reshape our environment on a grand scale to create security, express faith, and forge complex societies. The legacy of these structures is not merely in their stones, but in the very idea of the city itself, a place of innovation, power, and community. When we look at our modern skylines with their networks of pipes bringing fresh water and their towers of steel and glass, we are seeing the direct descendants of these ancient wonders. The principles of urban planning, of centralizing resources, and of building for a collective identity were all forged in the shadow of these colossal first attempts. Let this journey be a reminder that history is filled with hidden chapters of incredible human achievement, stories waiting just beneath the surface to reshape our understanding of the past. We would love to hear which of these forgotten megastructures captivated you the most in the comments below. If you enjoyed this exploration into humanity's deepest past, please subscribe for more journeys into the mysteries of history.